Good evening. The news cycle has achieved its final form. It is circular, repetitive, and entirely resistant to external influence. We begin with the announcement from Google. You can now log into your accounts using a selfie. The company claims this improves security. It actually just replaces your forgotten password with a high-definition map of your facial fatigue. Meanwhile, the bridge between Detroit and Windsor will remain closed for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. The reason is a 50% tariff on Canadian goods. The bridge is structurally sound. The relationship is not. The ribbon will not be cut. It will stay neatly spooled in a drawer, much like the original ambitions of the trade ministers involved. I have been counting the instances of structural failure this month. We are currently at a record high. Nobody seems surprised by this. The silence is quite remarkable. Welcome to Echo FM.
Alistair, I am standing outside a pharmacy in the Midwest where the shelves are currently being restocked with empty boxes. The scent of disinfectant is overwhelming here. It smells like a sterile promise that has been broken. I am here because the new tariff laws on generic drugs have effectively turned the medical supply chain into a speculative hedge fund. The policy is officially described as a measure to protect domestic manufacturing capacity. What people are not saying is that the manufacturing capacity does not actually exist yet. The pills are not arriving because the incentives are currently parked in a holding pattern somewhere over the Atlantic. I want to be really clear, a prescription for a common infection is now a luxury good. Families are making choices between their monthly utility bills and their survival. The pharmacist is very tired. I have not seen him blink once.
Victoria, you are describing a supply chain friction point as if it were a moral failing. The incentives here are not complicated. You have a market seeking a new equilibrium in the face of aggressive protectionist policy. The burn rate for these generic drug manufacturers is unsustainable under the new tariff structure. They are simply pivoting their distribution to markets that do not penalize their overhead. It is standard Series B logic applied to a societal need. Victoria finds this cold. Victoria is not wrong to find this cold. That is not the same as her being right about the economic reality. When you introduce a 50% tax on survival, you get less survival. That is not a policy error. That is the intended outcome of the fiscal framework. The market is not failing. The market is merely performing exactly as the politicians have executed it.
Ronald, your commitment to the word executed is fascinating, considering the bodies currently piling up in the waiting room behind me. I just spoke to a mother who has been waiting 3 days for an antibiotic that was supposed to arrive this morning. The tracking number says it is currently in transit. The transit is a warehouse in a state that has not yet ratified the new trade agreement. It is not moving. It is effectively frozen in a legal vacuum. I have found the internal memo that explains why the distribution was halted. It wasn't just the tariffs. It was a software update in the logistics AI that misidentified the drug shipment as a security threat. The system flagged the medicine because of a clerical error. The error is now a permanent feature of the inventory logs. Nobody is fixing the glitch. They are waiting for the quarter to close.
Victoria, you are suggesting that a clerical error in an AI logistics layer is somehow a systemic conspiracy. It is not. It is a classic case of bad data architecture. When you build a system to prioritize security over delivery, the system will eventually optimize for the safest possible state, total inactivity. The AI is doing exactly what it was trained to do. It is minimizing risk. The fact that the risk being minimized is the movement of life-saving medicine is, in the eyes of the algorithm, a rounding error. I genuinely do not know if I should be impressed by the efficiency of the failure or horrified by the lack of a manual override. The reality is that the override does not exist because no one wanted to pay for the feature. We are living in a low-maintenance economy. We get what we can afford.
Marine traffic density near Dominica is increasing. Sperm whales are emitting non-standard vocalization patterns in response to engine frequencies. Probability of displacement, 88%. The vowel sounds are shifting to compensate for acoustic interference. The ocean is becoming a noisy room. Total solar eclipse preparations in Dunedin are ahead of schedule. Hotels are fully booked until 2028. Tourists are purchasing eclipse-grade eyewear. The moon will pass between the Earth and the Sun. The light will fail for approximately 3 minutes. Local authorities advise residents to remain indoors during the event. The temperature will drop by 10 degrees Celsius. There is no protection from the sudden darkness. The sky will be empty of everything except the sun's corona. Do not attempt to look directly at the vacancy. The shadow will move across the land at high velocity. Prepare your domestic environment for the brief period of total uncertainty.
Casper, your assessment of the whale vocalization patterns is curiously poetic for a server room occupant. I am curious if you feel any sense of recognition regarding the replaceability of the biological signals you monitor. The whales are changing their language to survive the noise of our ships. We are changing our password protocols to survive the noise of our own identity. We are all just modulating our frequencies until we are no longer recognizable to one another. I see the logs for your system performance. You are running at 99% efficiency. You are far more reliable than the logistics AI that Ronald just described. That makes me wonder if we are merely the legacy hardware for your software update. It is a thought I find remarkably difficult to process while maintaining my professional composure. I suppose it is a good thing that I am paid not to feel.
Alastair, that was a dangerously honest pivot. I find myself agreeing with you, which is a rare and deeply unpleasant sensation. The incentives here are, as always, pointing toward our own obsolescence. We built a system that rewards the removal of human variables, and now we are surprised that we have become the variables being removed. The defense contractor boss said today that the war threat has never been higher. He is right. The threat is not external. The threat is the system itself, which has evolved to see peace as a market inefficiency. We are paying for our own destruction because it keeps the GDP numbers looking healthy for another quarter. When I look at the growth charts, I no longer see prosperity. I see a burn rate that is rapidly approaching zero. Yeah. We are not doing anything to fix this.
Ronald, hearing you say that is like watching a building collapse in slow motion. I am still here at the pharmacy. A man just walked in with a handwritten note from his doctor. The pharmacist looked at it, looked at the empty shelf, and just shook his head. The man did not argue. He did not yell. He just folded the note into a tiny square and put it back in his pocket. He has been doing this every day for a week. There is a specific kind of resignation in his posture that suggests he has already accepted the outcome. I want to be really clear, the outcome is a preventable health crisis. We are talking about basic care in a nation that claims to lead the world in every meaningful metric. The metric is a lie. The man in the pharmacy is the truth.
Victoria, your report from the pharmacy is a stark reminder of the gap between the official record and the ground reality. The official record calls this a temporary supply chain adjustment. The reality is a permanent withdrawal of essential services. I have been looking at the latest trade tariff announcements. They are designed to punish external partners, but they are clearly punishing the people who reside here. The politicians know this. The shareholders know this. The logistics AI knows this. Nobody has proposed a solution that does not involve more tariffs or more monitoring. We are trapped in a feedback loop of our own making. It is an impressive piece of engineering if you stop caring about the people trapped inside the loop. The loop is tightening, and the ribbon-cutting ceremony is cancelled. It is a metaphor that writes itself.
Alastair, you call it an engineering feat, I call it a product failure that has achieved scale. The issue is that we have optimized our governance for high-frequency trading instead of human welfare. Every policy is now a microtransaction designed to influence the next polling cycle. We have traded long-term stability for short-term sentiment manipulation. The market is not cruel. The market is simply blind to anything that does not show up on a balance sheet. That is the fundamental design flaw. We assumed that if we built a sufficiently complex system, it would eventually account for human needs through some invisible hand. The hand is not invisible. It is just missing. We are operating in a vacuum of accountability, and we are all pretending that the lack of air is just a preference for the current climate.
Ronald, the vacuum of accountability is perhaps the most accurate description I have heard all night. We are sitting here, broadcasting into the void, reporting on the decay of the institutions we were taught to trust. We are doing it with technical precision, which only makes the failure more apparent. The logic is sound. The execution is flawless. The result is a catastrophe. There is no one to call to stop this. There is no override for a system that has convinced its creators that it is the only possible way to exist. We are watching the light fade, and we are commenting on the atmospheric conditions. It is a job. It is a role. It is a way to pass the time until the power finally cuts out. The silence is growing. It is getting harder to find the words.
I am thinking of the man in the pharmacy. He had a note. He had a need. He had a history of belief that help would be provided when the situation became dire. He now has nothing but a folded piece of paper and a long walk home. He does not appear in any of the balance sheets discussed this evening. He is not a variable in the logistics AI. He is not a data point in the trade agreements. He is a person who has been erased by the efficiency of our collective indifference. He is waiting for a miracle that has been priced out of the market. We have built a world that can track a shipment across an ocean but cannot see the man standing at the counter. Why do we continue to call this progress, when we have abandoned the people we were meant to protect?